Waiting. Waiting is hard for most of us. We don't like to wait for traffic. We don't like to wait in line at a grocery store or a Walmart. We even don't like to wait for those greater and bigger things in life. There's just something about waiting that we just don't like. We would rather not wait. Sometimes we just have to wait. And sometimes we wait when we really don't have to, but we do. Our scripture centers around a man who waits for a long time for something good to happen to him. However, when the opportunity presented itself to stop waiting and to start living, he didn't seek it out, not at first. Instead, he was content on waiting some more. Our scripture, John 5:1-9, comes after Jesus has just healed an official son, and Jesus continues to heal in our scripture passage. At the beginning of our passage, as the good Jew that Jesus is, he goes to Jerusalem for a festival. And while he is there, he comes to the pool of Bethsaida. Now, the pool of Bethsaida was known for his healing abilities, and his name also means house of mercy or house of grace. Now, if you were to come upon the pool of Bethsaida, you would literally see an in-ground, underground pool with 5 pathways. And these pathways had 5 entrances, where one could enter the pool to be healed. Now, these portals had high columns with a high roof and provided shelter for individuals such as invalids, those who were blind, lame, and paralyzed. Now, let's imagine that we were there with Jesus in this story. Our scripture says that there were many individuals at Bethsaida seeking to be healed by the waters in the pool. These invalids were deemed unclean. They were literally the outcasts of society. Now, back in Jesus' day, anyone who was not normal was identified as being unclean and ostracized in society. These people literally had no traditional home, as you and I know a home to be. They were homeless, but at the same time, they found their home at this pool. Now, as we are looking upon these outcasts, I wonder what you are here. Now, I doubt the atmosphere around you would be quiet, because these hurting people were obviously in pain, and in pain for many years. Because after all, they were seeking and searching and grasping to be healed. That's why they were here at this pool in the first place, to be healed. Now, one could probably hear loud growling, intense yelling, and verbal acknowledgments of great discomfort and excruciating pain, and probably calls of deep hunger. Now, as you're looking upon these people, I wonder, what are you smelling? It's highly unlikely that you're smelling fragrant roses and fresh grass. These people who call the pool of Bethsaida home have probably been there for many, many years. The man in our scripture has been there for 38. Yes, 38 years. People most likely did not have a way to bathe themselves, wash their hair, or freshen up in any way. They likely did not have any more clothes than what they had on the back, and their clothes likely had not been washed. Dirt, grit, mud caked their bodies. Now, by imagining all this, I don't want to disgust you or put a foul taste in your mouth, but I want to paint an accurate picture of what this place actually was and what it looked like. To say the least, it wasn't a pretty place, and you definitely didn't want to go there unless you absolutely had to, because it was no place you wanted to be. But Jesus went there. Jesus went there not because he needed to, but because he wanted to. Jesus did not go to the pool of Bethsaida because he desired to be healed. Instead, he needed to heal. And he needed to heal in a more awesome way than the pool ever did itself. So Jesus comes upon this man, and as I said before, this man had been at this healing pool for 38. Yes, 38 years. When Jesus talks to this man, he knew that he had been there for many, many years. Was Jesus psychic? Probably not. I bet Jesus simply looked into his eyes, which back then was a big deal. Because people in Jesus' society didn't interact with people like this man and other outcasts because they were scared. And they were afraid that they would catch whatever illness and ailments that they had. And they didn't want to become outcasts and deemed unclean. This wasn't the first time, nor was it the last time that Jesus defied social expectations. Jesus was known to break unjust and unholy rules and expectations in society in order to follow God's will. I bet that Jesus could tell by this man's eyes that he had been suffering for a long time. We all know that look in someone's eyes that tells us they have been in a lot of pain. And they've been in a lot of pain for many years. So Jesus asks this man, do you want to be made well? Now, that's a simple question with an even simpler answer, at least you would think. You would think that this man would say, yes, yes, yes. After all, he's been ill for at least 38 years. And it's been 38, yes, 38 years at this pool seeking healing, but he has not been healed yet. You would think that this man would grab hold of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be healed, but he didn't. Instead of responding with a resounding yes, he responds to Jesus' gracious and good question by naming off excuses. This man says to Jesus, I have no one to put me in the pool when the water is just right. See, I can't just walk to the pool myself. And the water has to just be right for me to be healed. Sometimes the water's too hot, sometimes it's too cold, sometimes it's too calm, sometimes it's too rough. And even when I do make my way to the pool, someone always gets there before me. And I can't be in the pool when someone else is in the pool. Excuse after excuse after excuse. Now, I imagine what Jesus hears from this man rattles off his excuses is blah, 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 blah. Jesus, who is not one to mince words or give any weight to excuses, says to this man, and I imagine he said it to him very sternly, stand up, take your mat, and walk. And what did this man do? I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that he made more excuses. But no, he didn't make any more excuses. You see, he did exactly what Jesus told him to do. He stood up, he took his mat, his dirty, stinking mat that he had laid on for 38, yes, 38 years, and he walked for the first time in a very long time. We are told that Jesus healed this man on the Sabbath, which is a no-no. And directly after this scripture, we find out that Jesus gets in trouble because he purposely broke the strict Jewish law prohibiting work done on the Sabbath. Now, Jesus was all about breaking rules and standards of society that were just unfair and unright. And we have several examples of this in the 9 verses of our scripture, and there are many more intertwined within the Gospels themselves. What strikes me most in the scripture passage is that this man never answered Jesus' question of, do you want to be made well?